Okay, I'm back. I'm going to carve the eyes now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start laying out these eyes. And I'm going to take my little 1/4 inch veiner, 3/8 inch veiner. I'm going to make this just a little bit deeper. Kind of smooth that up just a little bit on each side. Make it just a hair deeper, not much. Okay, and I'm kind of setting the place to do these eyes in there like so. Alright, let's see. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. I think we can get away with that. Now, just a little bit more right here. Alright, now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to come straight up from the nose. I'm going to put me a mark right there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and that's where my eyes are going to go. Now, what I do next, and this is where you really need a set of dividers. Okay, I'm going to take my dividers, excuse me just a second here. Take my dividers, these are brand new ones, boy, they're stiff. And I'm going to kind of get the width of this nose, kind of like so. And then I'm actually going to close it just a little bit, alright? Then I'm going to come up here, alright, and then that shows you where the edge of the eye is going to be. Well, I'm going to cheat that down just a little bit more. If you remember when I talked about laying out a face, I said that generally speaking, your eye is going to be the same width as your nose. Well, this is one of those places that I need to cheat just a little bit. Make me a mark here. Then I'm going to draw the center line of the eye. Now right here where this notch is, that's kind of where I'm going to draw it. And I'm going to make this slant downhill just a little bit because I want kind of a mean look to this guy. Then I'm going to look at it and make sure I've got them about the same slant and in the same place. I'm going to draw a little half circle coming up from that center line and down from that center line. And that's where the eye mound is going to be. In other words, where the eye is going to be behind the eyelid. Okay? And that's where my eyes are going to be. Now then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very small veiner. This is about a 1 1/2. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. It's kind of hard to see. About a 1 1/2 inch veiner. And I'm going to start from the top of this arc and I'm going to cut down to the center line. And as I go, I'm going to go in deeper. I'll start off kind of shallow and it's going to deepen up as it goes to the center. And you got to hit the same place from each side. Now the deeper you can make this, the rounder from side to side your eye will be. Sometimes you just got to work it down there, do it 2 or 3 times, and get that eye in nice and deep. I want to get some good roundness on this eye if I can. Okay. I'll turn it over. I'll come over here and do the outside the same way. And this is going to, like I said, set up the roundness of my eye. Now then, once I get this outside deep enough, I'm going to come and I'm going to go ahead and put that center line back in. And I'm going to come straight out the side of the face right along that center line. And what this is going to do, I do it very carefully, this is going to do is open up the side of that eye so that you can see the eye from the side, which you can on a human being. Okay, there we go. Just like that. I'm going to come around here and do the same thing on the other side. Work from center, or outside to center, getting deeper as I go. Alright. Hope you can see this good. I think you can. Try to, like I say, you try to end up in the same place in the bottom of the ditch. Alright, now I'll go ahead and open this up just a little bit. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. If you can see that. See, now you can, because I ditched this out, you can see the side of this eye. Same thing over here. Alright. Now then, I'm going to relieve just a little bit of wood down here. Just kind of make this a smooth transition. I'm going to do the same thing just a little bit up here. And what I'm using here is a number 7, about 1/4 of an inch. Just going to ease that down, kind of take that harsh line out of there is all I'm doing. And kind of the same thing right here. Okay. Now then, I'm going to come back in here once again and go ahead. Oops, I forgot to do the inside corner of this eye. Guess it would help if I did that, wouldn't it? Get him deep. Get a lot of depth so I can get some roundness side to side. Okay, there we go. Alright, now then I'm going to take, oops, I didn't get it, hang on. I'm going to take this tool here, and what this is, oops, excuse me, this is a number 7, and it's about 1/8 of an inch. And what I am going to do is I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to round from not quite halfway down into the bottom of that ditch. And what this is going to do is make the side-to-side roundness of this eye mound. Just take your time. You're just going to be taking little chips. The better and smoother you do this, the better your eye is going to be. Whirl it around here. Now I usually have my magnifiers on when I do this part. And if you hadn't got a set, especially if you got older eyes like mine, I've got a set of Bronkenloam, whatever you call it, magnifiers, and they sure make it a lot easier on me when I'm carving this little stuff. But right now I'm wearing headphones and a microphone, and I can't wear them, so I'm just going to have to do the best I can without them. Okay, here's one. Come back over here. And I remember, you're rounding this down. In other words, your tool has to go like this. If you just kind of cut an angle on it, you'll put a facet there, and that is not what you want. Eyeball is round. It's not a series of angles. Okay. So here we go. Now you can also refer, if you want to see this carved on a bigger eye where you can see it a little better, to my eye carving video. You can see that on YouTube at my channel there, or you can go on my blog site at 3crosseswoodcarving.com and see that video too. You can even buy it if you want to, but you can watch it for free. It's about a 30-minute tutorial, and I'm carving an eye that's about 3 times this big, so that you can kind of see what I'm doing a lot better than you will be able to on this little one. There you go. Now I've created the roundness, and what I've done is created the mound under the eye. Now I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to put those center lines back in. Yeah, and then I'm going to check them, make sure they're pretty much like I want them. They are. And what we're going to do next, we're going to start cutting in the top eyelid. We're going to expose the eye under this mound. Now what I do is I get down here in the corner, and I come up about a 45-degree angle, just about as much as I've rounded down in the ditch. And then now see, right here is where the other side of that ditch is, and I'm going to come right back down to that line. I'm going to have kind of squinty eyes on this one. Now go ahead and draw this other one in over here while I'm at it. Okay. Now I'm going to take my detail knife, and you need to have a good sharp detail knife to do this. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to stick it right down in that corner, and I'm going to push it in pretty deep. Then I'm going to actually come down below and stick it in again, about the same angle. And I'm going to come, and I'm going to try to cut one continuous line, and I'm going to let it come down. I'm actually going to come below that center line. I want this to slant it down, like so. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drop down on this eye, and I'm going to carve straight up. Now you don't want to come up here and roll it down and make a football out of this. You want to carve it straight up. And you also have to keep this roundness that you've made side to side. So you have to kind of work at it a little bit at a time. You're not taking a whole lot of material off. Just like so. Keeping that roundness that we created. Turn it around. I'm going to stick my knife right down in that corner where that is. I'm just going to kind of turn it. Try to come up at that same angle and create that roundness side to side and keep it the same. Now, a lot of times right in the center there, it's hard to get to with a knife, and that's where I use a little skew. This is a little 1/8 skew, and here again I'm talking about skews, but hey, they just make my carving job a lot easier. And if you ever get one and get used to using it, you'll never be without it. Alright, now that's about finished, and you can tell, let's see if I can get where you can see it. Probably be hard to see, but this little gap between the top eyelid and where I carved that eye should be the same all the way around, and that'll tell you that you pretty much kept your eye round. Okay, let me go ahead real quickly and I'll do this other one and we'll continue on. Okay, push it right down in the corner, push it down in the corner the other way. That just makes it a little easier on you a little later on. And then cut one continuous smooth line all the way down. Okay, I get down here below the eye and I come back up straight up, keeping that roundness side to side as I'm going. Roll it around, stick it right in the corner, take that little sliver out of there. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get my skew. Just kind of work this down a little bit right in the middle. It's just when you get right to the center of this thing, it's hard to get that with a knife. It's just much easier to do it with a skew. Okay, now we've cut in the top eyelids. Alright, now we're going to do the bottom eyelid. And here again you come back and put this center line back in once more. Okay, now the bottom eyelid is going to drop. Now we could just go with it right there. Boy, that's a nice squinty eye, but we're going to come just a hair below that. Now I want to show you something, and I hope you can see that on here. Okay, I started out in the corner and I came up, and the highest point on the top eyelid is right there. Okay, now we're going to drop this eyelid line below the center line, but the lowest point at the bottom is almost going to be on a diagonal across here. It's going to be like right here. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to come that far down. I'm going to come right there, and then I'm going to roll that back up. I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's going to drop down, then it's going to roll back up. Now I need to look at them, make sure they're pretty much the same. Now I'm going to take my detail knife, I'm going to stick it right in that corner, and I'm going to cut this line. It needs to be one continuous line, hopefully, and it needs to be a little bit deep. It needs to be a little deeper, and the reason why is we're going to be cutting from the top of the eye down, and the human eye actually slants back into the forehead, so we're going to take a little bit more off the bottom than we did off the top. Okay, now I'm going to stick this right up here, and this is almost a concave or a compound cut, because I'm going to slide this in and roll it down at the same time. And here again you got to be aware of keeping that roundness side to side as you do this, so you don't flatten that eye out. Now there, just cut it down there, and I may want to go a little deeper right in the corner, and you're just taking shavings off really, and that's why you need a good sharp knife to do this. Okay, and there's what you end up with. And see, we've exposed the eyeball underneath that eyelid right there. Now also, to finish it, you notice this is cut down here. We want to tuck this bottom eyelid under this top eyelid. The easiest way to do that, you can do it with a knife, but I find it easier to get out that little number 7 1/4 inch and just roll it around and just come back in here and just take a little bit of wood right underneath that eyelid. You're just making a shadow line, but you're tucking the bottom eyelid up under the top. And I'm going to just kind of ease that off a little bit and clean it up. Okay, there you go. Now I'll come over here and do the same thing over here. Push it down in the corner. Come right here. Oops, I almost slipped, didn't I? Okay. I'll start in the corner. I'm going to roll in and down at the same time. Remember to keep that roundness side to side as you're doing it. Don't flatten that eye back out. Roll it back around here. Go down in there. Get my little skew. And I got a couple of little flat places right along in here that I got to work on just a little bit. Alright. There I go. And take my number 7 again. Tuck this eyelid right underneath the other one, just like so. Okay, now I need to come back and I'm going to take just a little bit of this out. Right up into there. You'll see why in a minute. Okay. And I'm going to work this down just a little bit to get me a smooth transition right in there. I like that. Let me work this one down just a little bit here. Just kind of opening that up a little bit. Make it a little bit smoother. Okay. That's not looking bad. Now then I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in this top where the eye disappears under the brow. And what I'm going to use to do that is a excuse me, I'm going to use my where is it? Let me find it. I'm going to use that little 1.5 inch or 1.5 millimeter veiner. And I'm just going to come in right above the eyelid. I'm going to cut it around. Now, remember, you always need to cut downhill, so you start from the center of the eye and work inward, and the center of the eye, and work outward, right above that line. And that creates that separation that we need. I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side. Just come in right there, and then come back, come in right here. Now you can just take that and clean it up by doing that. Same way on the other side. But we're going to be coming up to meet it here in a minute. Alright, now that's starting to look better, isn't it? Okay. Now then I'm going to come in underneath the eye and I'm going to put a bag, and that bag's going to kind of come down and come back, and then it's almost going to come straight back up when it gets out here to the eyelid. Kind of draw the same thing over here, more or less. Looks pretty good. And on this I'm going to take a very small V-tool. Now you could do this with that small veiner too, but on one this small I just usually use a small V-tool. I'll start in the center. I'm going to come down and meet that where that veiner stopped, right down in there. I'll do the same thing again, coming back down to the eye, and remember when it gets up here to the eyelid it's almost going to turn straight back up. And there's my bag. Okay. Cut this other bag in, start at the center, cut down and stop right underneath the eyelid, right there, start down at the center, come back there and meet that place in there. There we go. Now then, I'm going to put a few wrinkles. I'm not going to have crow's feet because you're not going to see the edge of his eyes very much, but I'm just going to put a few wrinkles. Remember, they're not straight. Nothing is straight. It's kind of an S-curve a lot of times. I don't really have a whole lot of room to put too many wrinkles on here, but we're going to put a few. And I'm also going to put another line right in along here. You can put in as many wrinkles or lines or whatever as you want to. And here again I'm going to take my very small V-tool. I'm going to come and cut that in right there. Let it die off. I'm going to cut this one and let it turn down the face a little bit. Cut another one right here. And maybe one more. There we go. Then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. And I'm not cutting anything straight. And I'm not cutting a series of straight lines either. I'm letting that line curve. I want to let it curve a little bit. Okay, now I think, let's see if I can get him where you can see him good. I think it's starting to look pretty good. Kind of hard to see him. You can see him right there pretty good. Now I'm going to come up here and work on this brow a little bit. And I'm going to take that At number 7, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm very carefully going to start at the center of the eye, and I'm going to start rolling this down, and I'm laying that down. I'm going to come back to the nose with it. See how that rounds that off real nice? Then I'm going to come back down here and do the same thing coming down. Just kind of rounds that sharp edge that I created off. Now see right here, I'm going to have a hard time getting there, so I'll switch to that littler one, to that 1/8 one, and just kind of, can't hardly get it in there either. Yeah, I can. There it goes. Okay. Just like that. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to get the bigger one back, and I'm going to come right back down the same place I did from the other side, like so. I have to come back along the nose and kind of clean it up a little bit. See, I got a little bit in a different place, so I got to fix this side. And there we go. Now he's got a round brow. Now right in this area here, I want to get me a shadow line. So what I'm going to do, you know, I use the veiner, is I'm going to take my very small V tool, and you could do this with a 1/8 if you don't have one this small. Cut from the center, once again to center out, just like that. And this just adds a little detail, a little shadow. You can even come back later on and put your knife cut in there if you'd like to. Now, a lot of guys do, and I do it a lot of times. And that just adds a little more detail. It's a little easier to see. And let's see here. Okay. Now see how that works? And you, like I said, you can come in here with a knife if you want to, and kind of lean it back towards the face. Get right in the bottom of that, and put you a knife cut, and maybe even take a little sliver out if you want to. And that even accentuates that a little more. Now, of course, there's a little bit of cleanup and stuff to do, but I'll probably do that off camera. But there you go. That's pretty much how you carve the eyes on this guy. Now, I'm not going to put any eyebrows on him since he's a green man. I could, but don't think I really need to. And that is pretty much the whole carving right there. And I think it turned out to be a pretty good green man. Let me back off a little bit where you can see him. There you go. And there's pretty much your green man. Now there's some cleanup, some picking to do, and I'll do that off camera. That's not a problem. But there you go. There's your green man. Now I may come back and talk to you about painting him some, and you can see with my example here what I did there. And basically the face was left natural. I painted in some green eyes on him, and I used a forest green, basically the very diluted forest green, to paint the leaves. Now you could do a fall foliage on this if you wanted to, or you could even you know, I used light green, and then I darkened it up a little bit and came back and ran the centers with a very small brush, just so they'd show up more. And what this color is basically, before I painted this guy, I dipped him in some boiled linseed oil that was thinned down 50% with thinner. And once you do that, then you wait about, I don't know, 30 minutes or an hour, wipe him down good, and you can go ahead and start painting with acrylic paints. And that's where we are. So when I come back, we'll finish this thing up.